We are live. We are live. Greg the Cooler is in the house. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. Smash that like button. Subscribe to our channel. Share the video with your friends. But come on in. The water's warm. Come on in. This is our first live show in a while. We've been doing these watch parties, these great watch parties where Greg the Cooler, that's me, talking in third person. I've been icing teams left and right. Whoever I pick, take the opposite. Come on in. Let's have some fun. We're going to be talking about Jimmy Harbaugh. Some late action in the transfer portal tonight. Breaking down the Georgia Bulldogs and the TCU Horned Frogs. And yes, I'm going to have to sing this Georgia fight song. At least parts of it. I see Mona Vision is in the house. Mona Vision, he comes blazing in here. Greg the Cooler, I saw you jinx my Buckeyes with that cursed blackboard. Absolutely. If you are not here, if you were not here, it was 42-41 Georgia. The Buckeyes going for that field goal to win the game. I just erased that 41 and I put that 44 up there. I said it's a lock. Greg the Cooler lives no more. And then what did we see? A shank. A kick that wasn't even close. I had more than one Georgia Bulldog fan thank me on Twitter. And if you check the comments in the comment section of that live, that watch party show, if you check the comments after we were done, there's a Georgia fan thanking me, saying all of Georgia is thanking me for their victory. I didn't mean to do it, Mona Vision. I did not mean to do it. I apologize for that. We're going to be going into a lot tonight. Come on in. First of all, let's talk about Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, the coach of the Michigan Wolverines. Is he going to the NFL? Really? Is he going to the... Last year we know that he was interviewed by the Minnesota Vikings. Did not get the job. And he basically said, and he said it more than once, okay, I flirted going back to the NFL, but not anymore. I have no more interest. In fact, there's an interview out there right before the Fiesta Bowl semifinal game where he was asked, and Jim Harbaugh said, people are going to be unhappy if they think I'm going to go to the NFL. He's basically said, I'm excited to be back. I'm going to be excited to be back with the 2023 Michigan team. Now, this is what I feel about it. He's got great interest in going back to the NFL. Great interest. You saw the report today that he had a conversation with the Carolina Panthers owner. We also saw reports that the Denver Broncos are interested in interviewing. Jim Harbaugh only has a very small window of time to knock this down. More than ever in college football, things go at a very quick pace. The reason for that is it's NIL, and NIL. You have to let the boosters know. There's a report out there this evening from Michigan 247, Sam Webb, great reporter out there, basically saying that Jim Harbaugh, people behind the scenes thinks he's probably going to stay at Michigan, but he's got to let everyone know by this Friday. Because people are not, the boosters, the people who donate the money, they're already sitting on the fence. And we got another little open window of portal activity. Things are going on right now. Jahad Carter, great safety from Syracuse, just committed to the Buckeyes before we came on this show in the transfer portal. We got Justin Rogers, a very good, still got a couple years eligibility, defensive tackle out of Kentucky, out of the state of Michigan in high school, was a top 300 ESPN defensive tackle. He's in the portal. We got John Paul Richardson. Boy, I hope he doesn't go to the Badgers. A very good receiver from Oklahoma State Cowboys. He went into the portal. We have still a lot of portal activity, and we're going to get a lot more coming after all these spring football games in April, which we're going to be covering very, very tightly here at Peak Around the Corner. We're going to be covering all these. We might even have watch parties for the spring football games. That's how excited we already are for next season. So Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, he's got to let people know now. That's why these coaching carousels, the carousel doesn't spin that many revolutions before decisions are made. Everything is quickening. It's quickening. Everybody has to make the decision. Jim Harbaugh just can't putz around and not let Michigan know if he's coming or going or whatever. Jim Harbaugh, and I'll get to your comments. West Virginia guy, nice to see you in the house. K-Do, thank you for that compliment. Rock Chalk, I'll get to you in a second. Rock Chalk, Kansas. Okay. Jim Harbaugh, coaching record, college football. At Stanford. Stanford's not the easiest place to win, ladies and gentlemen. Right? 2007, 4-8. 2008, Stanford goes 5-7 under Jim Harbaugh. 2009, they go 8-5. 2010, Jim Harbaugh takes Stanford to 12-1. Right? Then he goes to the NFL. He comes back to his alma mater, Michigan. In 2015, Michigan goes 10-3. 2016, Michigan goes 10-3. 2017, 8-5. 2018, 10-3. 2019, 94. The last two seasons, 12-1, 13-1. Won Big Ten championships 2 years in a row. Now, he's also lost 2 playoff games in a row. He's also, Jim Harbaugh, Michigan have lost, under his coaching, lost 6 bowl games in a row. So it hasn't been all great, but overall, he's been fantastic. Is he going back to the NFL? He better let Michigan know right now. Because they're already, it's been reported, Michigan 247, The donors, the boosters who donate the money to the collectives are already sitting on the fence. They don't know what's going to happen. Now, if Jim Harbaugh does move off to the NFL, and it wouldn't surprise me, with these reports already coming out, him already talking to an owner, it wasn't called an interview, it was a discussion. After what happened to Jim Harbaugh last year with Minnesota, I think Jim Harbaugh is going to have discussions before he gets an interview, because these owners have to go to the NFL interview process. That's in their bylaws in the NFL. I think Jim Harbaugh is going to make sure he has a job before he goes to the interview, if you know what I'm saying. But anyways, with these reports coming out, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Jim Harbaugh goes to the NFL. And if Jim Harbaugh goes to the NFL, we're going to be doing a hot board list right away. The moment it happens, we're going to be putting a hot board list for Jim Harbaugh. Who's going to be the next coach in Michigan? Give me your thoughts and ideas in the comments below the video. And I'm going to tell you right now, as a Gopher fan, I'm going to be awfully nervous that Michigan's going to be looking at P.J. Fleck. What he did at Western Michigan. What he is able to do at Minnesota. P.J. Fleck, 26-26 conference record. And you might say, 26-26? Michigan's never going to go with a head coach that has a 26-26 conference record. 44-27 overall. Well, it's all about context, ladies and gentlemen. All about context. Tell me the last Gopher head coach who's had a 500 record in college football, in Big Ten. Tell me the last Gopher coach who's had a 500 record. I'll tell you who that is. Murray Warmoth. Back in the 1950s and 1960 when they won the national champion. Everybody else has been below 500 in Big Ten football, except for P.J. Fleck. So I fear that he would be one of the top candidates that Michigan looks at. There are other big-time candidates like Mark Stoops of Kentucky and other big ones out there. So put down your thoughts down in the comments section below the video. And let me just say, let's get this over with. There's enough people in the chat room. Nice to see you, Rebecca. Nice to see you in the house. I have to sing, in Monovision, I'm just going to sing the first half of the Georgia Fight song. I know you don't want me to sing it because they defeated your beloved Buckeyes. I know you only put that donation in, and thank you for that very kind donation, Monovision, to stop the Bulldogs from winning because I am Greg the Cooler. But Georgia did win. Ohio State did shank that field goal. So let me just get this over with. My voice hasn't recovered yet from all these watch parties, but let's just get this singing over with and we can continue with the show. Just let's get this over with. All right, we're just doing the first half of the Georgia Fight song. They took this from, it was created in 1890, Battle Hymn of the Republic. They took that same music and they just put it into the Georgia Fight song. So it goes something like this. Because of Monovision, Mr. Buckeye's donation, I have to sing it. Glory, glory to Georgia. Glory, glory to Georgia. Glory, glory to Georgia. Georgia. Glory, glory to Georgia. Glory, glory to Georgia. Glory, glory to Georgia. Georgia. That's it. That's it. Monovision, Walboro. Okay, that's it. I have fulfilled my obligation to that generous donation of Monavision. I appreciate it. Hopefully that was good enough, Monavision. Hopefully you don't have me singing the whole song. That's the best I can do. I have yet to recover from all of those watch parties that we did over the last week. Let's get to your comments. We have a lot more to talk about. We're going to talk about why the Pac-12, what are they doing? What is George Kliavkoff doing? We have a lot more to get to. We have Kendra Miller, the great TCU running back, might not play. He's questionable for the championship game. I think that's going to hurt TCU immensely. So I'm thinking I might have to go Georgia, given the points, about minus 13, which means the rest of you are going to have to run and take TCU because that would be the smart play. But we'll see what happens. KD, good evening, Greg. Great show. Thank you, sir. Rock Chalk. Monavision, I still like you because I made out betting against you, but this one hurts. I think Greg ended up with with one win against the spread. I don't know. I'm not sure where those records are kept. That's official, unofficial. Monavision thinks Harbaugh is gone. I'm not willing to go that far, but Harbaugh is interested. Because if he wasn't interested, this happening again, if he wasn't interested, he would have shut this down already. He would have shut this down. Because in this day and age of college football, the highest level of competitive college football, where NIL is going on, you have to make it clear. You are in or you are out. Because people are demanding that answer. Players are demanding that answer. And for Harbaugh to go take Michigan through this again, I tend to think that if Harbaugh can get a quick yes from some NFL franchise, that he'll take the NFL job. The problem is the NFL is not supposed to give candidates a quick yes. You remember the Rooney Rule, where you have to interview, you have to have a diversity of candidates, you have to go through the process. So no one should really be able to give Jim Harbaugh the assurance that he would get the job. That's not supposed to happen anymore. It's not the good old boy club. That shouldn't be going on in the NFL anymore. But I think that's probably what Jim Harbaugh wants. Because if he goes through this process again and gets shut down by the Broncos or the Panthers, and then he has to come back to Michigan again, that's not going to work. So I think we're going to know Jim Harbaugh better shut this down. If he's not interested, he better shut this down by tomorrow. Or he's going to hurt his own cause once again at Michigan. Monavision, remember that time that Nick Saban wasn't taking the Alabama job? Yeah, but that was a different time in a different place. And everything is sped up now. Everything, these players, Michigan still, I just read the article, Michigan still they still have some holes they want to fill next year. They're stacked, Monavision. They're stacked next year. Of course, the Buckeyes is. I think the Nittany Lions are stacked next year. I really do. I think Penn State is going to be more of a threat as long as Drew Aller, their quarterback, as long as he can step up, as long as he can give you better play, the Penn State better play than Sean Clifford. I think Penn State is a real threat. I didn't have them as a threat this year, and they really weren't. But I think they're going to be even better next year. That Singleton, Nick Singleton, man, he's going to run over 1,400 yards next year. They lose Jerry Porter. They lose some great players in the secondary. They got a great offensive tackle coming back next year. Penn State is going to be a threat to Ohio State and Michigan next year. But Michigan's stacked, so West Virginia guy, do you think the Big 12 will add the Four Corner schools because of the Pac-12 deal? Okay, let's talk about the Pac-12 deal. What's going on? What's going on, George Kliavkoff? Why don't you have it put in front of the university presidents? What are we, January 3rd? January 3rd. And I don't want to go deep into this story, but that because of the Freedom of Information Act, FOIAs, it was learned just a few days ago, last week, that George Kliavkoff, you remember when George Kliavkoff complained that the Big 12, that he really shut down the Big 12, and it wasn't Brett Yormark, Big 12, shutting the Pac-12 down in regards to a possible merger between the conferences or a possible arrangement, maybe a scheduling arrangement. And Brett Yormark came out and the Big 12 came out and said, yeah, we shut that down. And George Kliavkoff said, look, we're not. Big 12's coming after us. Maybe we'll go shopping after them. But we were never interested. This is George Kliavkoff saying this, and I'm paraphrasing. We were never interested in doing business with the Big 12. Well, there was FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. Now we see, because they communicated by email and text, that George Kliavkoff, that basically he was setting the tone, setting the table to the Big 12 and the ACC too, as well, to say, hey, let's work together. So I don't know. George Kliavkoff has really done damage to the Pac-12. He has said things that are knowingly untrue. It has hurt his credibility inside his own conference and outside his own conference. And Amazon, this deal where we did a show on it late last week, that Amazon might put a sports-specific app on their Prime Video streaming where you have to pay extra to watch sporting events. So not only do you have to pay for $15 a month to have Amazon Prime, but you'd also have to pay extra for the sports-specific app to watch your games, sporting event games of Pac-12. Now that doesn't sound too bad, right? As a Big Ten consumer, you have to pay for the Big Ten network. As an SEC consumer, you have to pay for the SEC network, and some of your content is on ESPN Plus. However, it sounds like, according to that report, that all or almost all of the Pac-12 content would be within that sports-specific app. So those Tier 1 games would also be on that sports-specific app. How many eyeballs do you think are going to watch Oregon and Washington on that sports-specific app? How many eyeballs do you think are going to watch Utah versus Arizona State? You are already risking, Pac-12 universities are already risking a great deal of possible exposure by taking most of their content and putting it on Amazon Prime. We all can agree with that, or most of us can. Thursday Night Football, NFL package, has taken a big hit in the ratings because they've taken it off a network and they've given it to Amazon. Now, Amazon paid the NFL a great deal of money. I don't think any of us have to cry any tears for the NFL, but they've taken a hit. You know that the Pac-12 universities have seen that. The athletic directors have seen that. The student athletes have seen that. So if they're going to take if basically their only choice is to go with Amazon, they're going to take hit with exposure. And now with the sports-specific app where people have to pay more, wow. My question is, I don't, and it's not just me. There's people way smarter than me out there. Bob Thompson, look at his Twitter page. The former president of Fox Sports. What is the holdup? What is the holdup tonight, as we do this show? What is keeping from Pac-12 signing a deal with Amazon and ESPN? What's going on? You know the total composition of your conference. You know there's 10 schools. You know UCLA isn't coming back. You've also said in public you want to get the deal done first and then look at possible expansion, which is probably going to be San Diego State and SMU, or San Diego State and Fresno State. So why hasn't the deal been done yet? Could it possibly because some schools, and I'll just name a few, Oregon and Washington, are looking at this deal and they're saying, are you kidding me? We have to put most of our sports, most of our football, maybe some of the basketball goes with ESPN, but most of our football is going to go with Amazon inside a sports-specific app, which is on top of the Amazon Prime. Who across the country is going to flip from an ESPN game, from a Fox Sports game, from a CBS game, from an NBC game, and go to Amazon sports-specific app to watch our content? And then Washington and Oregon saying, we really have to sign a grant of rights on top of this? We're taking all the risk, and we have to sign a grant of rights on top of this? And that grant of rights has to go for 6 or 7 more years? Come on. Maybe that's why the deal hasn't been done yet. And if that's not the reason that the deal hasn't been done yet, what is the reason? Can anybody come up with a different reason? I mean, I'm at the point, we got no intel on this. No intel. So please don't misrepresent what I'm saying. We have no intel, but I'm at the point where, shoot, Washington and Oregon, they should get on the phone. They should get on the phone and do something together, or some independent deal, or ACC, or something way out of the box. Because I think what they're getting from the Pac-12 is probably extremely disappointing. Every day that goes on from here on in, there is no more excuses. I mean, you remember when George Kliavkoff, I'm sorry about my rant here, but we have to say it like it is at Peek Around the Corner. You remember when George Kliavkoff said a couple weeks ago, well, of course we delayed the deal. We haven't signed it yet because we knew Deion Sanders was going to be the head coach of Colorado, and that would increase the value, and it's just silly stuff like that. I wonder if Oregon and Washington are sitting there going, do we trust this guy? Do we trust Pac-12's evaluation of what would happen to our athletic teams in our athletic department, which is the front porch of our university, if we move 90% of our content to Amazon? And not only to Amazon, but inside a sports-specific app. I think there's a huge fracture in the Pac-12. Huge fracture in the Pac-12. Let's go back to your comments. In regards to add 4 corner schools, I still think the chalk, I still think the favorite is that Pac-12 keeps together with their 12 universities, and they add San Diego State and they add SMU. But it is on the knife's edge. It is on the knife's edge. This vacuum that George Kliavkoff has created, someone is going to feel it, and it very well could be Brett Yormark with Colorado and Arizona, something like that. It's got to be filled. This vacuum, presidents, university presidents, above all else, want certainty. And they're getting none of that with George Kliavkoff. And then we got the Big Ten situation with Kevin Warren looking at the Chicago president's job. He didn't go to either semifinal game to watch his Buckeyes and Wolverines lose. So we have that uncertainty. And then we have the December 26th discussion at Peek Around the Corner, where we didn't get into it. We decided to stand down, where we have information that has to do with ACC country. And we'll get to that in the next couple of months. And then we have the battle of 2026. The battle that's going to be raged in 2023, 2024, 2025, because the decisions in those years, the end result of what happens in 2026 is going to take our college football possibly in a totally new direction starting in 2026. Nothing has been settled for the future. Only 2024, only in 2025 have things been settled. For 2026 and the college football playoffs, nothing has been settled. And we don't even know who's going to be invited into the room to settle it. And then we have questions of potential players association. We heard Kirk Herbstreit talk about it, ESPN, saying this probably needs to be a players association being represented by a third party organization, a union, to create a collective bargain agreement to some governing body out there that hasn't even been created yet. And this is why every institution, every conference is doing all they can to better themselves before 2026 hit. We're going to be constantly talking about that at Peek Around the Corner for the next weeks, months, and probably next couple of years. Okay, Rebecca, Mrs. Husky, Harbaugh to the Carolina Panthers is probably a done deal. Monovision. Problem is with the Rooney Rule and Flores lawsuit, they can't offer the job right now. And I think that's the hang up for Jim Harbaugh. Just a guess. But you can't just give the job to someone. You have to go through the Rooney Rule process, as we discussed about 10 minutes ago. The earliest he could be offered is a week or two after the last game of the NFL season. Rebecca, Monovision, the interim coach is African American, and they probably interviewed him already, and he's done a pretty good job since they fired Matt Rule. Monovision, I hope Michigan signs PJ Fleck as a revenge for Greg's blackboard. Tom Wilson, nice to see you in the house. He says Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer is not going to be Urban Meyer is not going to be the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. I don't particularly think Urban Meyer is going to coach again. And I think I'm the only one out here that thinks that. I don't think he can handle it emotionally, mentally. If you read the stories what came out of Jacksonville, when he was Jacksonville Jaguars head coach, I don't think he can do it anymore. Sean's saying, I don't know if Sean is saying oh geez to the Urban Meyer or oh geez to hearing me sing the Georgia song. Not sure which one. Rebecca, Greg took the points in Washington and they covered at +3. That's one of the very few games I got right, Rebecca. But thank you so much for posting that. That's one of the very few games I got right. I got crushed. Monovision, I am now for collapsing the Pac-12 by taking Oregon and Washington just to make the officials who called the Peach Bowl unemployment. Carter Theraptor, Mike McDonald of the Ravens. That's his call for the Michigan job. I'm guessing that's what he's saying. Curtis, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Blue Ridge Coffee, Mr. Curtis, thank you so very much. Appreciate your generosity. Can't wait to taste your coffee. Let me know. I think the wife wants classic roast. If Medea is listening to this, our moderator, please put down, Medea, if classic roast is what you want. I believe so. Anything like that, Curtis, that would be fantastic. Thank you again for your generosity. Appreciate you so very much, Mr. Curtis, Mr. Michigan. Okay, let's... Monovision. He picked some winners, but they didn't cover. Washington covered. They were +3. I got that one right. Monovision. George Kliakoff invented the "it's not you, it's me." George on Seinfeld invented that, but not George Kliakoff. Ooh, Rebecca, Kliakoff comes from Hulu and MGM. He will absolutely bluff and play the system. He's not going to give up information, and most out here have faith in him. Rebecca's coming in, and she's supporting George Kliakoff. All right. Nice to see diversity in our chat room. I love it. Will do. I should say Wild Oot, Mr. Utah man, Pac-12 football pay-per-view on Amazon. That ain't gonna work. Rebecca Salisbury, sports-specific app is only a thought by Amazon. They won't do it until they own other content anyway. That could be. However, that report that came out said... Front Office Sports, I believe it was, their reporting said that Amazon is looking to launch it in 2023. That's this year. I don't think there's any other sports packages out there that Amazon can get by 2023 other than securing the Pac-12 deal for the 2024 and beyond. I'm not sure that Amazon would know if they could get any NBA package, any slice of the upcoming new NBA package by the end of 2023. I don't know if the calendar works on that. I'm not sure. Monovision, Greg, come on. People don't sign media deals on days that end in a Y. Oh. Good question here. Movie Time Blues, good question. First of all, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so. Subscribe to our channel. You'll get notified of our upcoming shows. You'll also be notified of the live shows. Please smash that like button if you like our content. Movie Time Blues. Greg, any thoughts on the findings from the Transformation Committee? I read it over so lightly. The 25%. First of all, these findings from the Transformation Committee are only recommendations. But they put out there that they believe 25% of the schools, of the teams that are playing in any certain sport should make the end of the year national playoffs for that sport. So in essence, what they're saying is with basketball, NCAA basketball tournament, we have 68 schools playing in the tournament. With that 25% gauge recommendation, that would make the tournament to be about 90 schools. Because there's about 360, give or take, schools that play at Division I basketball. 90 schools for playoffs, I wouldn't be for it. I would not raise holy hell if they did it, but I would not be for it. And then football, I think you would have to go to 32 schools, correct? To get 25%. 32 schools in the playoffs. I like that number 12. I think that transfer, if I'm a little bit afraid of that transformation committee saying 25% should go into a playoff. 25, whatever how many schools they are that compete at a certain sport, that 25% of them should go to a playoffs to determine the national champion at the end of the season. I'm afraid that would lead to the split, to the possible split between the big conferences, the Power 5 conferences in football, Power 6 in basketball, and splitting them away from all the other schools. So I don't think those recommendations from the transfer committee, I don't see them being instituted so much. I know I have more to read on it. That's all I read about their recommendations. Let me know your thoughts, Movie Time Blues. Other people, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Wild Oot, serious question. What the heck can the Pac-12 do to get maximum exposure at this point? Not a lot of great options. To me, it's get on with the big CBS somehow. Be exclusive with big CBS. Well, you're not going to be exclusive with, Big Ten has CBS as one of their future media partners. Big Ten is with CBS, Fox, and NBC. Those afternoon 3:30 Eastern games, 2:30 Central games, those games are going to go from SEC to the Big Ten in 2024. 2023, they're still going to be split. CBS will be doing some SEC games, some Big Ten games. But 2024 and beyond, CBS, Big Ten, afternoon game. However, there was reports that CBS would be interested in some primetime Pac-12 game. If I was George Kliavkoff, I would try to get a deal done around ESPN, CBS, and some Amazon, but not put most of your content behind in Amazon. Even if it costs you $5, $6, $7 million per school per year. So what if each school gets paid $30 million a year in your media payouts versus $36 million? When you're able to keep up with the Big 12 in terms of exposure, let Amazon grab some of it, and some of it's going to have to be tier 1. You can't get around that. But have some of it go to ESPN, some of it go to CBS. That would be I'm afraid that George Kliavkoff is so focused on the dollar sign. And of course that's important. That's important. But he's so focused on being able to say, we make $5 million more than each Big 12 school, $6 million more than each Big 12 school in our media deal, that he's going to get so crushed in the exposure race that 2 years into the deal, Big 12 eyeballs are going to be double what the Pac-12, or almost double. You can't afford that to happen. I believe Kevin Warren, and the whole situation with Kevin Warren, looking like he's probably going to be the new president of Chicago Bears. And part of the reason is probably because his vision didn't agree with the Big Ten president's vision in expanding more out to the Pacific Coast. That should take some pressure off George Kliavkoff. It should. And because that Big Ten expansion button that we told everybody on October 12th, the expansion button, they hit the pause button on that. That should be really clear to everybody now that there's not going to be further Big Ten expansion here in the near term. That should take some pressure off George Kliavkoff. The worry is that Oregon and Washington come up with some other plan together. Independent, ACC, talking to ESPN, doing something crazy like that. Not crazy, but out of the box. I don't know. I'm getting worried because every day that goes by now, there's really no excuse for them not to have a deal signed. Really, there's nothing else out there that is stopping the Pac-12. You're not going to get a better deal by pushing this off a month or another month. First of all, the economy, the media money's starting to tighten. Amazon stock's not going. These companies are not bringing in more and more money. Their stocks are going down. If anything, the belt is going to tighten. So what is the reason why the Pac-12? Why, if tomorrow comes and goes, tomorrow's Wednesday, right? January 4th. If tomorrow comes and goes and George Kliavkoff didn't push a immediate deal in front of the Pac-12 presidents, what's the reason why he hasn't? Why? I'm just trying to come up with some reason why. If it isn't something really negative, like he's got a horrible deal and he knows that the Pac-12 presidents are not going to sign it, what is that other reason why? Is he waiting for another media company to come in on a white horse? That's not going to happen. So just give me a reason in the chat room why Pac-12 presidents are not celebrating a new media deal tomorrow. Just give me a reason why. That's all I'm asking. Rebecca, Washington has zero desire for the Big 12. None. They'd rather be independent and take the G5 spot first. Washington won't be going G5, that's for sure. Way too big, valuable of a school. Monovision, Washington, Oregon, Stanford need to get together and put together a nice package for Jack Swarbrick. Yeah, a lot of out-of-the-box thinking going on here at Peek Around the Corner, because I think we're at that time. I think we're, Washington, okay, so it doesn't look like they can get into the Big Ten boat at this point in Oregon. But at least for them, they have some sort of out-of-the-box options to at least evaluate, to think about, to hire a third party, to hire Navigate, one of these industry leaders that evaluate people's values and what they can get out of the next media deal. They have, I know it sounds a little crazy, but they at least have the ability to talk to other people. Most of those Pac-12 schools, they just want to see something pushed in front of them so they can sign the deal. But some of those Pac-12 schools, they must not be happy. There's got to be a fracture in that conference. Curtis comes in. I promise you, Harbaugh is not leaving Michigan. It was said inside Scumbeckler Hall that is absolutely ridiculous. The Harbaugh to NFL BS. Many college football coaches want Harbaugh gone. Monovision says he's gone. Curtis, I have direct contact. Both Scumbeckler Hall. Look, Michigan and Ohio State, they're going at it in the chat room. I love it. I love it. Look. Curtis could be absolutely correct. And if you read the Michigan 247 report by Sam Webb, it sounded like there were people telling him that they don't believe Harbaugh's going anywhere. However, he also said they better hear that from Jim. He better go to the players and tell them directly, or he better tell the boosters directly. And I think he gave the day of Friday, if you go in the 247 article. And that was just put out about an hour before I started this live show. So, Curtis could be absolutely correct. But in this day and age, where everything is sped up, where people are investing in your program, they want to invest in your program, they're sitting on the sidelines, they need to hear it from the coach directly. I am not going to the NFL. These reports out there, the report that Harbaugh talked to Carolina Panthers owner, it didn't say Harbaugh talked to Carolina Panthers owner and told him no. The report that the Broncos were interested in Harbaugh, that they are interested in Jim Harbaugh, the reports aren't saying Denver Broncos are interested in Harbaugh, but they were told no. At this point, we're having no reports that say Jim Harbaugh is saying no to anything. Sounds like he's keeping his options open. But again, we get back, and you guys have talked about it in the chat, we get back to the scheduling of this, right? It doesn't play in favor of Jim Harbaugh. For him to become an NFL head coach, it's going to take time because the NFL process, the Rooney rule. And Jim Harbaugh cannot string Michigan along. Not like this, not again. So I think, from my perspective, the only way Jim Harbaugh could be an NFL coach for next season, if he resigned right now as a Michigan coach and say, I'm going to be looking at other things, thank you, blah, 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 and then go through the process of potentially becoming an NFL head coach. And in other words, put his chips all in the middle of the table, because he can't string Michigan along like he did last year and then decide to come back. That's how. The only way I see Jim Harbaugh becoming an NFL coach is to say, I'm done, Michigan. Thank you. You can start your process of finding a new head coach. Thank you very much. But I'm going to be looking at doing other things, and then put himself in the process. But do the old, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in an NFL job, or not say anything at all, and then do these interviews. That can't happen again, in my opinion. In my opinion. Linda Olson, nice to see you in the house. If Michigan opens up, I think Iowa State is safe. Matt Campbell hasn't had a good last couple of years. Your thoughts? I agree. Although I believe Matt Campbell is a heck of a coach. What he's done at Iowa State has been brilliant. Not a good last couple of years. I don't think Michigan would go his way. I think Iowa State Cyclones are safe. Monovision, Amazon will grab NBA rights. I think they will as well. But can the Pac-12 bet on that? Maybe they have to. Amazon wants NBA and MMA. From Rebecca. K-Do. If the Pac goes with Amazon, won't it put Pac-12 teams at a disadvantage with other conferences in the NIL world? Yes, I believe so. Eventually. I mean, look, big-time schools in the Pac-12 are always going to have NIL money. Washington and Oregon. Other schools as well. But exposure, the lack of exposure eventually hurts you. I always bring up this example. RC Cola, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, right? Is RC Cola, is it that, if you do a taste test, who wins in the taste test? RC Cola just doesn't have the exposure, the advertising. They're not a big company, whatever. That's just one of many examples. You can have a product as good as another product, but because you don't have the advertising eyeballs, the points they call it, as your competitor, you start to fall away. And I think that's what the fear, we know this is the fear of Pac-12 presidents and athletic directors. This was the fear of the Big Ten. Amazon offered more money than CBS and NBC. Amazon offered Big Ten more money for the NBC primetime games. Amazon offered more money than CBS for the Big Ten afternoon games. But Big Ten decided not to go with Amazon. Not yet, because people are not used to going to flip onto the streaming service for your sporting events. People are not conditioned to that yet. And the biggest evidence of that is the NFL Thursday night package. The ratings have dropped. I don't think they're not panicking over it, I don't believe, but the eyeballs have dropped significantly. And if it drops in the same percentage as the Pac-12 eyeballs they get now, well, that's not good at all, because Pac-12 numbers overall, compared to the other conferences, they kind of hold up a little bit with ACC and Big 12, but they're nowhere near SEC and the Big 10. You can't have those numbers collapse. Oregon, Washington doesn't want those numbers to collapse. Rebecca, here in Seattle, for instance, we have stupid amounts of money for NIL and people who want the school back to the top. Yeah, Washington, that NIL money's not going away. Monovision, Amazon Sports doesn't work with just Thursday NFL and Pac-12. They absolutely need another marquee brand, so the NBA is a must. Delta, nice to see you in the house. Let's put those Texas Horned Toads in the hospital. 62-10, go Dogs. All right, we got a dog in the house. We got a Georgia Bulldog in the house. I'm sure he left after I sang his fight song. The Georgia Bulldog fans ran out of the Peek Around the Corner house. Monovision, make more in NIL but lose exposure, potentially reduce your draft stock. Rebecca, P5 and Big E should just create a new NCAA. Could happen, Rebecca. That could happen. Jeff Olson, Mr. Badger is in the house. 25% is a suggestion, like you said, and would be a sport-by-sport basis. And would not be happen for a while if it gets enacted. Could happen for basketball, not football. Good analysis by Mr. Jeff Olson, the former godfather of the Smacks. Rebecca Salisbury, Amazon would also need a broadcast partner for Pac-12 games. NBC does the Thursday night broadcast for Amazon. Yeah, someone needs to help Amazon put on the production for live sporting events. Absolutely. Before we get, lots of comments. Again, I won't be able to get to all your comments. If you want me to make sure I do, you can do a small donation to the channel. Again, I want to just talk about, again, there has been a movement in the transfer portal today. J.K. Johnson, cornerback, started 5 games for the Buckeyes. Out of the state of Missouri a couple years ago, he's in the portal. But the Buckeyes got Jahad Carter, the great safety from Syracuse. He committed to Ohio State. Justin Rogers, great defense. Really good, impressive year last year. Kentucky defensive tackle Justin Rogers. He's in the portal. He was a top 300 ESPN recruit out of Detroit. John Paul Richardson caught about 44 passes last year. Over 70, 75, 80, somewhere around that number. Total catches in his first 2 years of Big 12 football for Oklahoma State Cowboys. He's in the portal. And I hope he doesn't go to Jeff Olson's Badgers. Hope he doesn't go there. We have Georgia versus TCU, the championship game. Kendra Miller is questionable. The great running back of TCU, Amari DeMarcado, really good backup running back. Number 3, he looked good. He's going to have to play great against Georgia. I'm not sure Miller's going to be ready for that championship game. So a lot of movement, lots of movement in the portal. I know players can visit. There's rules set up between the 4th and the 8th of January. There's going to be more movement in the portal. And again, there's going to be more movement in the transfer portal after the spring football games. Just another reason why Jimmy Harbaugh has got to make a decision. Got to let everybody know real soon. You're in or you're out at Michigan. Probably in the next 24 hours, we'll probably learn something real quick. Rebecca. The reason why I ask is that Kansas quarterback has recently signed an NIL deal with Adidas. I'm not too worried for the bigger brands in the pack like Washington, Oregon, but Arizona State. Again, that's Pac-12's biggest fear. The lack of the eyeballs, the lack of exposure. It's going to really crush some of those lower tier Pac-12 schools, and that affects the top Pac-12 schools. This is one of the reasons why Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12. They saw what's going to happen, the changes happen. They went to the SEC. Same thing with UCLA, USC. We've talked about this before. Oregon and Washington are sitting here going, if we go to Amazon, what is that going to do with the eyeballs? Are the student athletes really going to want to come here? Yes, we're going to have to provide more NIL money to get them here. But how long is that sustainable? And then we're going to have the new world of college football, college sports, where direct money is going to be going to the student athletes. Their compensation level is going to kick up some more. This is the new world of college sports. It's going to happen. Mona Vision. Sing Ice Ice Baby on the next live show. Cooler. $10 super chat. Ice Ice Baby. I tell you what. I'll sing it. I'm not going to sing the whole thing. Hopefully that... Ice Ice Baby. How do I even sing a rap song? How do I even do that? I will come up with something. I'll do the best I can. Thank you for that donation, Mona Vision. Appreciate it very much. How was my Georgia fight song? Nobody is crying in the chat. Nobody's saying it was the worst thing they've ever heard. So hopefully you guys survived that. Thank you, Mona Vision, for your generosity. I appreciate it so very much. You bring great fun to the show. Thank you, sir. Okay, back to your questions and comments. Not going to be able to get them all. Tough Tony, Mr. Gopher. I think we'll know about Harbaugh and Warren after the NFL regular season is over on Sunday. I don't think we're going to know about Harbaugh. Now, we may know that he, getting back to my crazy scenario, that he would tell Michigan, thank you, but I'm done. I'm going off to a different direction. We might hear something about that. But as Mona Vision and other people have said, and I have stated, Jim Harbaugh is not going to be a head coach of an NFL franchise by the end of this week or the next week or the next week. NFL franchises have to follow a process that takes time. They have to interview a host of candidates, and that candidate list has to have enough diversity that resembles the people who play the sport at the highest level in the NFL. So, Jim Harbaugh being the coach of the Colts, or being the coach of the Broncos, that's not going to happen anytime soon. We'll see how it plays out. John Coy, did I miss the PAC Media segment? Monovision, John, it was a classic Greg rant. Go back about 10 minutes or so. Movie Time Blues, Greg, 90 is too many for men's basketball. That would put pressure to cut the regular season back. Yeah, I think that's just too much. John Coy, does Oregon have a problem with Amazon? Yep. Yeah, they do. They sure do. Especially, yes, they do. We don't have to get into it again. They absolutely do. Monovision, just do the first stanza. Stop, collaborate, and listen. Okay, I'll just do the first stanza of Ice, Ice Baby on the next live show. But we're going to wrap it up here at Peek Around the Corner. Again, we got the story of Jim Harbaugh. We got the story of the Pac-12. If that media deal gets signed tomorrow, we're going to be doing a live show. Whenever it happens, we'll be doing a live show. But there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of cloak and dagger stuff going on behind the scenes. Again, we couldn't talk about December 26th on December 26th. There's a story brewing. We're going to get to it hopefully most assuredly in the next couple of months. So hang with us here at Peek Around the Corner. Yes, Ted, you're absolutely right. Demar Hamlin, let's end that show on that note. Prayers to Demar Hamlin. Pittsburgh Panthers, Buffalo Bills. From reports, it sounds like he had a cardiac arrest when he made a tackle last night's game. All prayers to Demar Hamlin. I don't know what the latest reports out of the hospital is there in Cincinnati. Absolutely. Prayers to Hamlin, his family. I know a lot of people are donating to his Toys for Kids charity. Fantastic human being. From all accounts, he's an incredible guy. 24 years old. 6th-round draft pick 2 years ago out of Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh, playing for the Buffalo Bills. And prayers to him and his family. Great way to end the show. Prayers to Demar Hamlin. Hopefully he's setting himself up for a great comeback. To come back, not necessarily to play football. I'm saying come back to his family. Praying and hoping for the very best. All right, until next time. From all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take care of each other. Thank you so very much.